So in June of 2022, I posted a video about this wind spinner right here. We're now in October of 2023, and this is one I made the video about. It originally had, you see these blank spots here, it had that many more slats in it. It didn't work. I had to take every third one out. It's now a nine slat or 9 vane wind spinner, and it was just an experiment, but it worked really well. Now I took the slats that I took off and added some to it, and I made this small one. It works. It needs a really high wind, but when it spins, it really spins. Never did do a video about that. I was just kind of experimenting with things. But I want to give you a little background on how I got started with wind spinners anyway. Many years ago, I was interested in if I could cut aluminum can to make a wind spinner. And so I've made several different types. I started out with different number of blades, all the way from 2 up to 8. And the more blades you had, the better it spun. With the 2 blades, it'll spin, but a lot of the energy goes into swinging instead of being transferred into rotary motion. It wants to swing. It doesn't transfer all the energy into the spin. Now this one is a 16 blade. I found on YouTube, I forget the guy's name, I'll have to go look it up if he's still there, and he had a pattern for making these. He was Eastern European, I believe. And I downloaded the pattern, and I'll have to go try to find that again. And these little things will really spin. My 8-blade spinners that I made myself would spin very well. I took these and sold them at flea markets and sold several of them. And I just enjoyed playing with them, experimenting with them. So that's what brought this idea up. This is kind of the same thing as this in wood. So that's where we are on that. And I'm experimenting with some different configurations now, and well, I'll show you how we're doing that. I got one done. It didn't turn out like I wanted. I'll put a video of that up here in a little bit. It does work. It spins. I've got 2 configurations I can use it in, but I'm going to make some changes and try again, because my original intent, I had 2 ideas. Instead of these slats being straight up and down, I wanted them angled a little bit. So you got 2 angles to work with. The angle of it off the main line of the straight up and down, and then the angle in relation to your center line here, which would be turning it in or out. So there's a lot of experimentation to be done there. So we'll move on, and I'll show you my next iteration. And then I'm going to reconfigure that, and I'll show it again, see if it works. And I'm going to cut another one. I'm using scrap material. I'm using 3/4 inch to cut the top and bottom. This one was 1/2 inch, I believe. And this one was just a 1/2 inch piece of scrap plywood. It's all just stuff I picked up out of scrap pile outside. Now these are 2x4s ripped down. The new one, I ripped them down to 1/8 inch. These are like 1/4 inch. I'm trying to make them a little lighter. I was able to rip the 2x4 even that thin, but it's kind of dangerous on my saw if I don't have a 0 tolerance throat on there. So let me show you my next iteration, and I'll reconfigure it and see if it works, and we'll see how that looks. And then I'm going to start cutting on another one with a different angle on it. So this is my latest wind spinner. This was not my envision when I started cutting it, putting it together. But this is how it turned out, and I'll explain all that later. It spins in a very slight breeze. You can see it's spinning pretty good, and it's not much wind right now. But that's not put together permanently. I've just got it stuck together to test it. I kind of like it, but it's not what my ultimate goal was. And I'm going to do some more work to get some different configurations. Well, here's the one that I made yesterday. My intent was that these would be at the top and the bottom. At this angle, they just won't go there. I've got them wedged apart. That's what's holding it together. And it still makes a spinner, and it spins pretty well. I'm going to take it apart and just put it in one of these. I got that rubber band there to keep them from, because I don't have them glued in or nailed in or anything. Just kind of keep them from dropping out. And they're pretty tight though. I'm going to just move down to one of these, and you saw there earlier that it was spinning in very light breeze. It was spinning pretty steady. So I'm going to cut it down to one, and then we'll see if that makes any difference. Well, the day is warming up, so I'm getting enough breeze for this to spin a little bit. In fact, it's been spinning pretty good. It's not symmetrical. I don't have all the slats exactly in the right place, but this was just a test anyway. I could build one like this and get it all symmetrical and balanced. It'd probably work okay. It wasn't my original vision when I started this, so I'm going to go cut some more ends and see if I can get a little closer to what my original idea was. Alright, I'm going to cut two more circles. These are going to be larger, and they're larger because I got a larger board to cut them out of. I cut according to the material I have, and this is a leftover piece of 10 by, I do believe. Anyway, it's recovered from an old work table I had a long time ago that I did computer work on. So I dug it out, and I'm going to cut two circles out of it. It's larger, so I may have to have more slats or veins, or at least wider ones, if not more. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put the how many slots or veins, slats, and I'm going to cut slots for them. And I'll probably use I was thinking about doing it on a table saw, but I think I'm going to try it with a spiral bit on it. It'll be an experiment within an experiment. But anyway, I'm going to cut these two circles out first. Well, I've got these two circles. I got the slot marked where I want to cut it. I got them stuck together with some blue tape and super glue. I've gone to the sander and matched them up real nicely, and I've drilled a hole all the way through this one into the second one so that those holes will match if I need to drill them both. And I may put them on the same shaft. Another idea I have depends on how this works out that I'm doing here. I want to leave my options open, but I got a spiral blade, a number 3 spiral blade. I haven't used those very much. They're a little bit different animal. You have to kind of get used to using them. And I'm going to try to cut these slots with a spiral blade so that those little slats that I ripped that I'm already using will fit in here. And then we'll test it and we'll see how that works. I'm trying to get a specific look. And I've got it set at 5 degrees. I got the table set at 5 degrees. I did the first one at 20. That's way too much. So I'm going to drop back to 5 and see how that works. That may not work, but we'll find out. Testing the slat there. That's a little bit too big. I thought it was when I got it out, so I'm going to try to cut them a little narrower. So there is the latest one I cut. I put it out yesterday with the small blades that I had from the first test, and it barely would spin. So I doubled the blade size today. As you can see, it's outperforming my expectations. The yellow and black one there, I consider a decent wind spinner. If a new spinner will spin when it does, I think it's a successful spinner. This one appears to be exceeding that. This is not the finished product. It still doesn't have the angle I want, so I'm going to cut one more set and double the angle on. I kind of want a rakish look to it with those blades coming down. I want them to be obviously angled. I want to see how that looks, and I want to see how it performs. Anyway, that's the purpose of this video, is kind of test that idea. It's kind of a vision I had. It just popped in my head about those angles. So I'm going to cut another set. May not be as big as this one. And now I've got two size blades, a large size and a small size. And I'll see if I can test that, get the look I want, and if I can and I can make it work, I'll buy me some better wood and make a finished bottle. I'm going to call that attempt a success, and as far as it spins very nicely in the wind. Did not give me the effect I was looking for, so I'm going to cut another set of tops and bottoms. This is 1/2 inch plywood, and it's about 5.5 inches in diameter. I'll show you how I lay these out before I finish this video, but back to my spiral bit. I've got the a blade here that I'm going to use in it, and I'll test it as I go to see if I got them wide enough. I want it snug, but I don't want to have to hammer them in or do a lot of work to get them in. So here we go, and we'll cut these 8 little slots out and check them as we go. It won't be but a second after that, put it together and see if it even works. Okay, with great effort I got that put together. If you can see that, it's got a little twist in those blades. As you can also tell that they're not lined straight up and down, which was my goal. I don't think I can go any further than that on the angles. That's at 10 degrees. In other words, these slots are cut at 10-degree angles. That's probably as far as I'm going to be able to go, but test now is to hang it and see if it even works. Or what it does. I'm saying the key to this could be the flexibility and strength of your blades. And these seem to be just about the right combination. I was able to, with a lot of effort and a wooden hammer, pound them together and twist them till I got them in. The last one was the hardest, but I finally got it in there. So I'm going to take it out and hang it and see if it'll even spin. Well, there it is. This is my second attempt at filming this. My camera cut off yesterday, and I didn't know it till I started editing this morning. Plus, I had a rooster right here underneath me just crowing as I did it. But I got a very, very slight breeze, and you can see it's really spinning very, very well. I'm really pleased with this spinner. Now, I'm going to call it an ultimate success. I'm not going to do a finished product yet. This is still a prototype. But I've got some other ideas I want to test out before I come into a final prototype and get some good wood to build it. I'm very pleased with this one, and it'll probably hang out here and spin for a while. I did have some troubles with these swivels. The one it's on was the one that this one was on for a while, and it always spun well, but for some reason the new one I had it on didn't want to spin very well, so I put it on that one and oiled it real good, so you can see it's really working well. These swivels do need a little oil every once in a while, and in fact some of them are kind of upside down. If you put them on wrong, they'll get water down in them. But I'm going to call this a success, and we'll move into the shop and I'll show you how I lay those lines out to cut that and what I used to do it with, and we'll call this a done video until I try the next idea. I've got some more ideas and I'm going to try to do some more improvement, and in the next video I may finish up with a final product. I'm not sure, but we're going to move forward with some more testing. So at the end of this video, I want to show you how I laid out the top of those circles to figure the angles to cut, and most of the angles that I chose were just arbitrary. I don't know if they have any special meaning. Those are things that can be experimented with, may make it better or worse, but I'll show you exactly what I used. Of course, I have this big compass. And I really love this. It's very accurate. The thing is, it's got this sharp point. When you do it on wood, you can really jam it in there to hold it in place. Not only make the circle better, but it gives you the exact center point if you want to drill a hole or need to know the center for any reason. And it's good to know it to start this, because you need to be able to draw a straight line across it to start with. I have two angle rulers. I have this 30, 60, 90. 30 degrees here, 60 degrees here, 90 here, and I have a 90, 45, 90 here and two 45s. So I start with this. Now you can start with either one, but I start with this. First step, you could use either one, and I just put that red, doesn't matter where it is on the circle, as long as you get it right on there, and I draw that first line. I'm going to make 4 lines, which gives me 8 intersections out on the end where I want to line out the blades. That's for 8 blade spinner. There's a whole nother game if you want to do 9 blades, which I have done, or even more. You just figure the degrees of the circle to get and hit your points. But then I take this 45 and I put it right there like that and draw that line right there, and then I come back and finish that up. And that gives me 2 of them. So now you're going to need another 45 right here to divide this again. And then I'm going to go up through here like this. I do the same thing in both of these divisions. Alright, not exactly perfect, but that's good enough for a wind spinner. I try to get it to go through that spot every time. So that gives me my 8 intersections where I want the spinner to meet the edge of this piece. Now some of the first ones, I just cut a slot right here, right across, and put the blade right against that. And you figure whatever angle you want there. Of course, I was going to cut 2 angles. So I'm going to cut an angle here, and I was going to angle it through the wood. And in this instance, I angled both top and bottom the same, and that's what gives me the twist in those blades when you get up into a 10 or higher degree cut. So I did this on a 60 degree. I figured the angle on a 60 degree on this particular spinner. So I took this, 30 degree. I took this 30 degree, and that's the center line, or you could be the side of either way, as long as you do it the same on each one. So that's 30 degrees. And that's where I determined how to cut that line. I took the actual blade, laid it on there, and figured out the length, the depth into the wood, and then I cut that on an angle. Like I said, I cut both top and bottom on the angle, and that's how I lined that out. I bought all of this stuff. I think even the, I'm not sure, I'll check. I think I bought that on Amazon too. But I bought these, I know, on Amazon. So I'm going to put links to these in case you want to check that out. And also the swivels I use on my wind spinners. I'll put links to those on there too. But I go around each one of these with that 30 degree and mark that so they're all the same. That's not absolutely perfect, but when you cut it, you don't get it perfect anyway. It spaces out equilaterally around that so that it works. Now, that little spinner I just filmed, it's out there spinning like crazy while none of the others are working, so it's really been a success as far as performance. But I'm going to call that good for this video. I'm going to come back and revisit this. I got a couple of ideas on how to make this better. I'm not going to do a finished model. I'm going to do some more prototypes because I'm thinking about making a longer blade with a slightly thinner material so it'll be easier to twist and put together. And I'm also thinking about cutting different angles, top and bottom, so that you don't have to twist them, and see how all that works and how they look. I'm mainly looking for a look as well as performance. So if you enjoyed that, if you learned anything from it, I hope so, because I learned a lot, and I'm still experimenting. So if you like this, hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you like wind spinners, I like things that move, and wind spinners is just one of them. I may do some whirligigs as we go along, but right now I've been doing wind spinners of different kinds for a long time. I've cut aluminum cans, tin cans from tomatoes and beans, and made some nice big spinners. And that's the reason I bought all those swivels. I have learned you have to oil those swivels every once in a while. They'll mess up on you. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll have some links to this stuff in the description. And I hope to see you in the next video.